A cold rain pours nonstop as dark clouds swallow the sky and the land turns into mud. A lonely woman stands in the open field, her clothes soaked, her hair stuck to her face, while her cattle cry loudly in fear. She moves from one animal to another, trying to calm them, but there is no shelter anywhere. Her hands tremble, not from cold alone, but from fear of losing the only life she has. No one stops. No one cares. Horses pass, wagons move on, and every sound feels like rejection. She feels small, invisible, and completely alone against the storm. The rain grows heavier, the wind cuts deeper, and her strength begins to fade. Just when her knees feel ready to give up, a shadow appears through the rain. A rancher slows his horse and looks at her. He does not speak at first. He only watches her pain, her courage, and her love for her cattle. Then everything changes. She lives alone on wide, open land where silence is her only companion and the horizon feels endless. There is no house, no family, and no protection around her, only the cattle she cares for every single day. These animals are not just her work, they are her survival, her hope, and her reason to keep going. She wakes before sunrise, sleeps under the sky, and faces every hardship without complaint. That night feels different from the start as dark clouds gather slowly and the air grows heavy. When the rain finally falls, it is not gentle but cruel and unforgiving. Water soaks the ground, thunder shakes the land, and fear creeps into her heart. She realizes she has nowhere to take her cattle, nowhere to hide herself. The storm becomes her enemy, testing her strength, her courage, and her will to survive. The rain becomes heavier with every passing second, and the wind starts pushing hard against her body as the storm shows no mercy. Her cattle sense danger and begin to panic, moving restlessly, their cries growing louder and more desperate. She runs toward them, her feet sinking into the wet ground, her breath short and uneven. She tries to gather them close, using her arms and voice to calm them, but fear spreads faster than her strength. The sky flashes with lightning, followed by thunder that shakes her chest, and each loud crack makes the animals jump in terror. Water streams down her face, blurring her vision, yet she refuses to turn away. She places herself between the strongest wind and the weakest animal, standing like a shield even as the cold bites deep into her skin. Her hands ache, her legs tremble, but she keeps moving, driven by a promise she made long ago to never abandon them. The storm grows crueler, ripping through the open land, and she realizes there is no tree, no barn, no wall to protect them. Every direction she looks offers nothing but endless field and falling rain. Her heart pounds as she understands how helpless the situation has become. She shouts softly to the cattle, trying to guide them closer together, hoping their warmth will keep them alive. The mud clings to her clothes, pulling her down with every step, and exhaustion creeps into her bones. For a brief moment, doubt enters her mind, whispering that she cannot win against nature. She shakes her head and pushes forward, refusing to listen. Memories of long days and lonely nights flash through her thoughts, reminding her that these animals are all she has left in the world. Losing them would mean losing herself. The rain lashes her face like sharp needles, and the cold steals her breath, yet she stands firm, holding on to their ropes with numb fingers. One calf slips, and she rushes to lift it, straining her body beyond its limit, her knees nearly collapsing beneath her weight. Fear tightens her chest as she realizes how close she is to failing. She looks up at the dark sky, not to beg, but to gather whatever strength remains inside her. Her voice cracks as she calls out again, steadying the animals with calm words she barely believes herself. Time feels frozen as the storm continues its attack, and each second feels heavier than the last. She knows she cannot protect them for much longer, but she also knows she will not leave. Standing there in the open rain, with no shelter and no help, she faces the storm head-on, unaware that this moment of struggle is about to change her fate forever. She steps closer and places herself in front of the herd, turning her back to the wind as if her own body can become a wall. Rain floods her clothes until they cling tightly, stealing warmth and strength, yet she does not step away. Her hands begin to shake as cold settles deep inside her bones, but she keeps them raised, guiding frightened heads toward her chest. Each animal presses closer, trusting her completely. and that trust forces her to remain standing when her muscles beg to fall. The storm pushes harder, and she leans forward, bracing her feet in the mud, refusing to let the wind tear them apart. Water runs into her eyes, stinging, blurring everything except the shapes she must protect. She breathes slowly, counting each breath to stay calm, even as her teeth chatter uncontrollably. Her arms ache from holding ropes and body steady, but she adjusts her stance again and again, absorbing every Udar meant for them. Thunder rolls across the land, close enough to feel inside her chest, and the animals jolt in fear, but her voice rises above the noise, steady and low, promising safety she cannot see. She wraps one arm around a smaller calf and pulls it close, bending her shoulder to block the rain while the wind claws at her back. Her knees buckle for a moment, and pain shoots upward, yet she tightens her grip and straightens again. Leaving is not an option that exists in her mind. If she walks away, everything she has built disappears, so she chooses to endure. The rain keeps falling, relentless and heavy, soaking her hair, her skin, her soul, but determination burns brighter than fear. She shifts her weight, turning slightly to shield another side as the wind changes direction, taking every hit without complaint. Her hands tremble harder now, numb and stiff, yet they never release what they hold. She feels the storm trying to break her, testing her limits, but she answers by standing firmer, pressing her feet deeper into the ground. The animals sense her resolve and quiet slightly, their breathing matching hers, slow and uneven. Pain spreads through her shoulders and spine, but she ignores it, focusing only on keeping them alive. Each second stretches longer than the last, and exhaustion wraps around her like another layer of rain. Still she stays. Still she protects. Alone in the open land, with nothing but her will and her heart, she becomes the shelter she does not have, refusing to abandon those who depend on her, unaware that someone nearby is about to witness this moment and change everything. From the corner of her blurred vision, she notices movement along the distant path as shapes slowly pass through the rain. First a horse with a rider wrapped in a coat, then a wagon creaking forward, wheels cutting through the mud. She lifts her head slightly, not to beg, but with a quiet hope that someone might stop. The rider glances her way, eyes meeting the sight of a woman standing against the storm, arms spread to protect trembling cattle, yet the horse keeps moving. The wagon follows, its driver pulling the reins tighter, choosing speed over compassion, leaving only deep tracks behind. Each passing figure feels heavier than the rain itself, pressing down on her chest with silent rejection. She understands then that being seen does not mean being helped. The cold deepens as disappointment settles inside her, sharper than the wind cutting across her back. Her heart sinks, not because of pride, but because she realizes how alone she truly is in this moment. The animals shift nervously as more sounds fade into the distance, and she tightens her hold, becoming smaller in the vast, open land. She feels invisible, like part of the storm rather than a human fighting within it. Her thoughts wander to how many times she has stood unnoticed, working without praise, surviving without support. The rain hides her tears, but the ache behind her eyes grows stronger with every second. She wonders how easy it is for others to look away when pain does not belong to them. Still, she does not call out. Her voice remains steady for the cattle, even as her spirit feels forgotten. Another shadow moves past, closer this time, and again hope rises briefly, only to fall when the sound disappears without slowing. Each refusal chips away at her strength, yet her feet remain planted. She feels smaller than ever, a single figure swallowed by weather and silence, but her resolve refuses to break. Her hands tighten around the ropes, knuckles pale, as she absorbs the truth that help will not come simply because she needs it. The storm seems to sense her loneliness and presses harder, rain striking faster, wind roaring louder, as if testing how much more she can bear. She lowers her head, breathing through the ache, focusing on the warmth of the animals pressed against her. Even unseen, even ignored, she chooses to stay. The world may pass her by, but she will not pass by those who depend on her. Standing there, soaked and shaking, she accepts the pain of being forgotten without surrendering to it, unaware that while many have turned away, one pair of eyes in the distance is still watching, and that choice will soon change everything. As the storm continues its relentless attack, a figure on horseback slows at the edge of the path, separated from her by rain and distance. The rancher does not turn away like the others. He pulls the reins gently and brings the horse to a full stop, his eyes fixed on the scene unfolding before him. He sees a woman standing alone in open land, her body bent forward against the wind, arms spread wide to protect frightened cattle pressing close to her side. He notices the way her shoulders shake, not from fear alone, but from exhaustion held back by pure determination. The rain runs down his hat brim as he watches without moving, taking in every detail in silence. He sees her hands trembling, yet refusing to release their grip, her feet planted deep in the mud, as if rooted by willpower rather than strength. Thunder echoes across the sky, and he watches her flinch slightly before steadying herself again, lifting her head to calm the animals with a voice he cannot hear but somehow understands. Something in her struggle holds him there, unmoving, as if the storm itself has paused for this moment. He has seen hardship before, but not like this, not carried so quietly. The cattle crowd closer to her, trusting her fully, and he recognizes the rare bond between them. Rain soaks her completely, yet she continues to shift her position to block the wind as it changes direction, placing herself wherever protection is needed most. The rancher feels a weight settle in his chest as he realizes she is doing alone what should never be faced alone. He does not rush forward, does not shout, does not interrupt the fragile balance she has created. Instead, he watches, measuring not the storm, but her courage. Time stretches as he remains still, letting the truth of the moment sink in. He understands that what he is witnessing is not stubbornness, but sacrifice. Her strength is not loud, yet it stands taller than the wind tearing across the land. The rain continues to fall, blurring the world around them, but his focus sharpens. In her refusal to abandon the cattle, he sees a reflection of values he thought were disappearing from the world. The horse shifts beneath him, sensing his pause, but he calms it with a quiet touch, eyes never leaving her. He knows that stepping forward will change the course of this night, perhaps more than she realizes. Still, he waits, honoring her struggle by witnessing it fully. In the middle of the storm, without a single word spoken, the rancher makes a decision that begins with silence, respect, and the recognition of courage standing alone against the rain. The rancher finally urges his horse forward and steps down into the rain, boots sinking into the mud as he closes the distance between them. She notices movement and turns slowly, instinctively tightening her hold on the cattle, her body still positioned as a shield. He approaches calmly, careful not to startle the animals, his presence steady and grounded despite the storm. Rain strikes his coat, yet he does not rush, giving her space, respect, and time. When he stops in front of her, close enough now to see the exhaustion etched across her face, she lifts her eyes to meet his. They are tired eyes, heavy with long struggle, yet strong with resolve that has not broken. For a moment, neither of them speaks. Thunder rolls behind them, wind presses against their backs, and the world feels narrowed to this single exchange. He studies her expression, not with pity, but with understanding, recognizing a strength earned through survival rather than comfort. She watches him carefully, unsure whether this is another passing moment of hope that will fade. Her hands continue to shake, not loosening their grip even as rain drips from her chin. The cattle shift uneasily, sensing change, and she adjusts her stance without looking away from him. He takes one more step closer, lowering himself slightly, so his voice will carry through the storm without force. When he speaks, his words are simple, clear, and steady, cutting through the noise like warmth through cold. Come with me. Nothing more. No promises, no explanations, no pressure. Just an offer shaped by certainty. The words hang between them, heavier than the rain, lighter than fear. She feels something inside her pause, a tightness she has carried for hours finally easing for a breath. Doubt flickers across her face, learned from a life where help rarely stayed. She glances back at her cattle, then at the endless land behind her, weighing trust against survival. The rancher does not rush her answer. He stands quietly, allowing her to choose, allowing her strength to remain her own. His presence feels different from the others who passed by. He has already stopped. That alone speaks louder than anything else. She searches his face for signs of danger, and finds none, only patience and quiet resolve. Rain continues to fall, but the moment feels suspended, as if the storm itself is waiting. Her breath steadies slightly, heart pounding as she considers the chance before her. For the first time that night, she is not standing alone against the weather. The decision forming in her chest is fragile yet powerful, built from exhaustion, courage, and the simple human need to be seen. In that brief silence after his words, everything she has endured leads to this single choice, and the path of her life begins to shift under the sound of falling rain. She does not answer right away, and the silence stretches as her thoughts collide with fear that has protected her for years. Her eyes drift toward the cattle pressed against her side, their warm bodies trembling, their lives tied completely to her decisions. Leaving this open land feels dangerous, because it means trusting someone she does not know, someone whose kindness could vanish as quickly as the others who passed by. Her grip tightens instinctively, as if loosening it might cause everything to disappear. The rain keeps falling, drumming against her shoulders, urging her to decide before the storm decides for her. She imagines leading the cattle away and losing them on unfamiliar ground, imagines regret following her forever if she makes the wrong choice. Her heart races, caught between survival and caution, between hope and the lessons taught by hardship. She has learned to rely only on herself, and accepting help feels like stepping onto unstable ground. The rancher waits, unmoving, not filling the space with words, and that patience unsettles her more than pressure would. She studies his face again, searching for cracks, for signs of danger, but finds only calm that does not demand anything from her. Still, fear whispers that kindness can be temporary, that trust can cost everything. She swallows hard, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing against her chest. These animals have followed her through hunger, cold, and loneliness, and the idea of risking them for a stranger feels unbearable. Her body trembles, not only from cold, but from the struggle inside her mind. She shifts her stance slightly, shielding the weakest animal again, as if reminding herself why hesitation matters. The storm roars around them, and the moment feels fragile, ready to shatter if she chooses wrong. Her breath comes uneven as she considers standing alone until the rain breaks her strength completely. She considers leaving, stepping into uncertainty with nothing but faith and exhaustion guiding her forward. The choice feels impossible, balanced on a thin line between fear and trust. She looks back at the rancher once more, noticing how he does not reach for her, does not touch the cattle, does not take control. He simply remains present, offering safety without force. That quiet respect softens something inside her, though doubt still clings tightly. Her eyes fill, not with tears, but with the weight of a life spent guarding herself from disappointment. She knows that refusing might cost her everything tonight, yet accepting might change her world in ways she cannot predict. As the rain continues to fall, she stands frozen between past pain and future possibility, her fear battling hope in a moment that will define whether she remains alone or finally allows someone to stand beside her. After one long breath, she finally nods, not with certainty, but with trust formed from exhaustion and instinct, and the rancher responds without celebration, turning calmly as if this choice has already been respected. He gestures gently, guiding the path forward, and she moves with the cattle beside her, every step heavy yet lighter than before. The rain still falls, but the direction feels different now, no longer endless, no longer without purpose. He walks ahead at a pace that allows her to stay close, watching silently as she keeps the herd together, her focus never leaving them. The land slowly changes beneath their feet, the ground firmer, the wind less violent, and for the first time she senses protection rather than exposure. A structure begins to appear through the curtain of rain, dark and solid against the storm, and her heart tightens with disbelief. As they draw nearer, the shelter stands strong, wide, and waiting, built to withstand nights exactly like this. The rancher opens the way without urgency, allowing her to lead the cattle inside so they do not panic. One by one, the animals step onto dry ground, their breathing slowing as the sound of rain fades into a distant echo. She guides the smallest last, her hands still shaking, until all of them are safely within the walls. The moment the final animal is sheltered, something inside her releases. The weight she has carried through the storm slips from her shoulders, replaced by a fragile calm she barely recognizes. Water drips from her clothes onto the floor, yet she no longer feels the cold the same way. The cattle settle close together, their fear easing into quiet presence, and she stands among them, stunned by the simple miracle of safety. The rancher remains nearby, giving her space, ensuring everything is secure without intruding on her relief. She looks around the shelter, strong beams overhead, solid walls around her, and struggles to accept that this is real. Her breath steadies slowly, each inhale deeper than the last, as the storm continues outside without reaching them. She presses her palm against one animal's side, feeling warmth instead of panic, and her eyes fill with emotion she has held back for too long. This place, this moment, feels like a turning point she never allowed herself to imagine. The rain may still fall beyond the walls, but it no longer threatens her world. She lifts her head and meets the rancher's gaze, seeing quiet assurance rather than expectation. No words are exchanged, yet gratitude fills the space between them. In this shelter, surrounded by the lives she protected, she understands that choosing trust did not mean losing control. It meant allowing safety to exist. As the storm loses its power beyond the door, her cattle finally rest, and for the first time that night, so does her heart. She sinks to her knees inside the shelter, the weight of hours spent fighting the storm finally crashing down on her, and for the first time she allows herself to feel every emotion she has held back. Tears streak through the mud and rain still clinging to her face, not from weakness, but from the profound relief that her cattle are safe, that her struggle has not ended in loss. She presses her forehead against the warm flank of a resting calf, shivering from exhaustion and cold, and feels a wave of gratitude she cannot put into words. Each animal breathing quietly around her reminds her that she succeeded, that her endurance has preserved life tonight, and yet the presence of the rancher nearby, standing quietly without intruding, makes her chest tighten with a different kind of emotion, trust she never thought she could allow. She looks up at him, eyes wet, voice barely a whisper though no words are needed, and the understanding passes silently between them that a single act of kindness can alter everything. Her body shakes as the storm rages outside, but inside, she is grounded in warmth, in shelter, in safety that she did not believe possible just hours ago. Memories of running through endless mud, of struggling alone, of doubting herself, rise and fall with her breath, and the tears are not sorrowful. They are a release, a recognition that human connection can be stronger than fear. Relief mixes with disbelief, that someone could step into her world without judgment, without hesitation, simply to offer help. She reaches out instinctively to the rancher, her hand hovering for a moment before resting gently on his arm, a gesture of acknowledgement and gratitude. The animals stir softly, sensing her calm, and she smiles through wet cheeks, finally allowing her shoulders to relax for the first time that night. Each heartbeat echoes relief. Each exhale carries away the tension of hours of endurance, and she realizes that this night has shifted her existence in ways she could not have imagined. The storm outside continues to batter the land, but she no longer feels trapped by it. The sound of rain against the roof is distant now, almost soothing, a rhythm marking the passage from fear to security. Her mind replays the moments when hope seemed impossible, and now each memory feels sharper, teaching her the value of trust, courage, and compassion. She rises slowly, supporting herself against the beams of the shelter, her gaze sweeping over the calm herd, and finally allows a full, deep breath to escape, acknowledging that life can be transformed in an instant when kindness chooses to enter. In this single night, drenched and exhausted, she has learned that vulnerability does not mean defeat, that accepting help is not surrender, and that one person's action can rescue not only the body but also the spirit, leaving her changed forever in a way she will never forget. The rain finally stops, leaving the air fresh and cool, washing away the tension that had built through hours of struggle, and she stands among her cattle, feeling their calm breaths brush against her hands as hope rises like the first light of dawn over open land. The shelter is quiet now except for the soft shuffling of hooves and the steady rhythm of hearts no longer racing with fear. She looks at the rancher, eyes wide, still damp from tears, and understands that one simple sentence, "Come with me," changed everything in a single night. The weight of loneliness lifts, replaced by a fragile but undeniable sense of trust and safety. Her cattle are fed, protected, and calm, and she finally allows herself to breathe freely without the constant pressure of despair. In that quiet, sacred moment, she realizes life can turn with courage, with kindness, and that hope can arrive when least expected. Standing there soaked but unbroken, she feels a new beginning inside her chest, a chapter where fear no longer rules, where strength and compassion create a future worth living. And she knows that this night, this act of humanity, will stay in her heart forever, shaping every step she takes from now on.